What I'm about to lay out could flip the entire Lakers season before breakfast. Imagine the group chats detonating. Imagine LeBron locking eyes with a D in the locker room, like, are we doing this or not? Imagine one phone call it takes. Los Angeles from hoping to hunting, from reactive to ruthless, from if everything breaks right, to make room on. Figueroa for a parade, because two names that are never supposed to be in the same purple and gold sentence just crashed into each other tonight, and the ripple might hit half the Western Conference by morning. And if you think I'm exaggerating, ask yourself why every front office source in the league is suddenly triple-checking protections and hard-cap math right now. There's smoke, there's heat, and there's that specific buzz you only feel when the move would change who we are on the floor in Game 5. Down 2, timeout, 20 seconds left. And that's exactly where this rumor points. So buckle up and do not look away. Here's my promise to you before we drop the match. I'm going to tell you why this idea even exists, what problems it claims to solve, how it would reshape our starting five and our closing five, what it would demand from LeBron's aging but immortal efficiency and Ad's nightly workload, what it does for Austin Reeves' usage, what it signals about Rob Pelinka's risk tolerance, how the cap mechanics could be structured without setting off every tripwire under the CBA, which matchups in the West it specifically targets, where the red flags live, what the price might be in rotational bodies and draft capital. And at the end, I'll tell you straight whether this is real traction or just the loudest rumor of the week. You'll walk away with a clean, honest read and a stance you can argue in any bar from Santa Monica to San Bernardino. You're watching Lakers News Fan Report. If you bleed this team like we do, hit subscribe, slam a like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next twist. This channel is where basketball IQ and fan fire sit at the same table and argue until the truth taps out. Let's set the scene with cold basketball reality. Last season, every time we hit that playoff half-court mud, 2 pain points screamed over the noise. We needed a bully on the glass who could eat innings at the 5, so Anthony Davis didn't have to be the battering ram from tip to buzzer every night. And we needed a snarling, no-nonsense guard at the point of attack who treats screen navigation like a religion, blows up dribble handoffs on contact, and calls the switches early, so everybody else looks a step smarter. We manage stretches by masking those gap-slotting a D as a supercomputer at both ends, asking LeBron at 40 to run primary creation, then secondary, then the inbound play, but that's a stress test you don't pass in late May. Reeves' growth was real. The hand-in-glove two-man game with a D kept us alive. But watch the film. When teams walled off the paint and took away our pet actions, we ran out of second punches. We needed vertical spacing. We needed one more adult with the ball, and we needed to get mean without getting messy. That's the blueprint. Now drop 2 names on it that make the math seductive and the risk terrifying at the same time. Here's the news you came for. The rumor swirling tonight is a multi-team blockbuster framework repeat. Framework being kicked around that would land Deandre Ayton and Marcus Smart in Los Angeles in one swing. Not a press release, not a done deal. A live, loud, exploratory structure that answers both of our biggest needs with one phone tree. A former no-1 pick 7-footer who can soak up center minutes, rim run, short roll, and punish switches. And a former defensive player of the year who eats point guards for breakfast, organizes a huddle like a quarterback, and brings a playoff snarl the second he steps off the bus. That's the rumor. Now let's unpack the basketball dots start with Ayton, because the AD conversation runs through him. The beauty and the risk are the same. Roll. At his cleanest, Ayton gives you vertical gravity the second he sprints into a high drag with LeBron or Reeves. His hands are soft enough to finish in traffic. His touch from 8 to 12 feet means your short roll isn't an adventure. And he's big enough to absorb primary 5 collisions in those ugly winter road games where everyone's legs are heavy. That lets a D toggle steal your best 5 in crunch time when you need the kill lineup, but not your only 5 from October to April. Think about what that means for a D's health curve, for LeBron's load, for your rebounding margin, for your second chance points, For the number of times you play from ahead instead of playing uphill because you gave up 3 extra boards in 1 quarter. Defensively, Ayton is not a free pass. He's at his best in drop with clear coverage rules, but he can play up to the level in short bursts if the back line is talking. You don't bring him to switch 1 through 5 all night. You bring him so a D's switches become a weapon, not a survival tactic. And so your big chemistry on the glass punishes small opponents over 7 games. Now put Marcus Smart into the backcourt and watch the geometry change. Point of attack defense has been a sore nerve. Smart numbs it. He calls the coverage, meets the ball handler hip to hip, and shoves actions off their timing by a half-second you feel in every weak side closeout. He's not going to give you microwave scoring every night, but he gives you something more valuable on a team with 2 stars, clarity. Everybody knows their job on the next possession, and the next, and the next. Offensively, Smart's catch-and-shoot 3 is streaky but respected. As a short roll passer in inverted actions with LeBron screening, he's a chess piece. And as a late clock decision maker, he's comfortable dragging a big into the corner and buying a whistle or dumping off to the dunker spot. In playoff minutes, that comfort matters. How many times did we see possessions die because the first option died and the second decision was a beat late? Smart's whole brand is beating the beat. Put the pieces on the board. Starting group in 1 likely configuration. Smart, Reeves, LeBron, AD, Ayton. That's size across the line. 3+ passers, 2 bigs with different strengths, and the ability to toggle coverages without burning timeouts just to communicate. Your go-to TO becomes a Spain pick and roll. Smart initiates, Ayton screens, AD sets the back screen on the big, LeBron lifts, and Reeves lurks as the relocation sniper. If the backline panics, it's a dive dunk. If they switch cleanly, you throw it to a D on the short pop and let him play 4-on-3 with 2 shooter space. Versus small teams, you flip to your death lineup 8 and sits. You slide a D to the 5. Keep Smart and Reeves to maintain your guard defense and secondary creation and invite chaos. Versus jumbo wings, Smart and Reeves do the top lock work that buys LeBron 5 possessions of rest on the weak side. The basketball makes sense on paper. It makes dangerous sense on the court if the buy-ins are real. That's the sugar. Here comes the spinach. Fit is romantic. The CBA is a buzzsaw. To add 2 mid to high salary pieces in 1 swing, you're stacking outgoing contracts into a clean matching total, and you're almost certainly involving a third team to absorb or reroute money. You are flirting with hard cap triggers depending on the tools you use. You're living in a world where draft compensation is the grease, and grease is expensive. You're conceding that some familiar names won't be here if this happens. That's not doom. That's the price of star-level reconfiguration. The question isn't, is it painful? The question is, does the pain buy you wins in the exact places you've been losing them? Let's test it against the West, against a post-heavy bully ball team. Ayton's size allows a D to roll more, erase back cuts, and own the nail without the constant wrestling match down low. Smart turns that opponent's guard into a math problem he doesn't feel like solving for 7 games. Against a 5-out movement-heavy offense, Smart screen navigation lowers the scramble minutes. Ayton sits more while a D slides to the 5, and your help-to-helper chains are shorter. Against pace and space units who live on the offensive glass, you get one of the most basic advantages in basketball. The possession count tilts toward you because you stop giving up extra shots. That's not a small deal. Possessions are the fuel a veteran team runs on in May. There are red flags, and pretending there aren't would be dishonest. Ayton's motor questions are not invented by haters some nights. He looks like a playoff monster. Some nights you're asking where the second jump went. You answer that with role clarity and accountability. On this roster, the job description is unambiguous. Sprint, screen, seal, rebound, rim protect, run it back. Smart's health has to be part of the calculus. He plays a violent style and has the miles to prove it. You mitigate it with depth and minute management, but you can't hand-wave it away. Spacing in double big lineups is another puzzle. AD's jumper comes and goes. Ayton's is touchy from mid-range, but not a floor spacer. That puts pressure on Reeves and LeBron to hit at volume and on Smart to punish neglect. The counter is simple actions that create layup rules for defenders. If you stay home, we rim run. If you pinch, we ping it to the corners. If you tag low, we cut high. It demands precision. But this coaching staff can teach precision when the personnel creates clean. Reads dot, what does it say about the timeline if you even consider this? It says the organization sees 2 overlapping windows win, now with LeBron still playing nuclear minutes when needed, while also lowering a D's nightly collisions and giving Reeves a higher leverage partner in the backcourt, and it says the front office is willing to pay him picks to buy margin in the margins. It also says the quiet part out loud. The West is too big and too mean to walk in with the same problems and hope vibes solve them. You don't need perfect. You need answers that travel. Smart's defense travels. Ayton's size and touch travel. The emotional edge this duo would bring you in a Tuesday in Houston, in January travels, and those Tuesday wins stack into April tiebreakers you desperately want. Is this fact or speculation? It's a rumor with real basketball logic behind it, not a handshake, not a finalized term sheet. Front offices talk. Frameworks get posted on whiteboards. Names get circled, erased, and circled again. The temperature right now is high enough to discuss seriously, and low enough to remind you that the NBA is a machine built to produce noise. Treat it like what it is. A scenario with teeth that could break one way with a single yes or vanish with one no. That's why you watch. That's why we're here. My opinion. Cards on the table. If the cost is reasonable in picks and you can structure the money without shackling future flexibility, I lean yes, not because I don't believe in the growth arcs of guys we love, but because the problems Ayton and Smart solve are the exact problems that keep killing veteran contenders by one possession in the spring. Ayton, in a clearly defined rim running, inning-eating role next to a star big, is a force multiplier for a D and a life extender for LeBron. Smart, in a locker room that values his brand of accountability, becomes a culture accelerant and a playoff cheat code in clutch defense. But the price matters. I'm not emptying the draft cabinet, and I'm not pretending double big spacing is automatic. The basketball case is loud. The front office discipline has to be louder. If the number of firsts creeps into reckless, you pivot, you keep your powder dry, and you bet on internal growth plus a different market opportunity. Before we get out of here, I want you in this with me. Would you pull the trigger if it meant moving multiple rotation pieces and significant draft capital to bring in Deandre Ayton and Marcus Smart? Do you trust Ayton's buy-in on a veteran contender more than you fear his inconsistency? Do you think Smart's leadership and point-of-attack nastiness are the missing ingredients? Or would you rather chase more shooting and live with the defensive trade-offs? Tell me your package lines. Tell me your protections. Tell me your closing 5 with and without Ayton on the floor. Drop it all in the comments and go hard. Because Lakers fans don't tiptoe around big questions, and neither do we. You've been rocking with Lakers News Fan Report. If this breakdown hit you in the basketball soul, subscribe, like, and lock those notifications. Because whether this rumor flames out or flames on, we're going to be here the second something moves. Breaking it down possession by possession, cap sheet by cap sheet, until the path to June is paved with more answers than questions.